Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Vinod Singh, and I'm the founder and consultant at Hospitech Healthcare Consultancy Firm. This is a short presentation, although I would love to have a detailed and physical presentation at the conference. But given the time frame, we would settle with a smaller presentation here. Uh, my topic will focus more on what is the post-pandemic world and what's the post-pandemic healthcare business scenario that we're going to have. So, one thing that we have all learned is that in this post-COVID scenario, we all have to accept that there's no back to normal in its entirety. Okay, the vaccine may come, but then what we had in terms of healthcare pre-COVID may not come back to normal completely. It might take some time, and because of the technological advancements and convenience point of view, patients would actually end up taking the services at home or in a remote location and not visiting a hospital. Because with this, what we have learned is that the hospital is a place for the sick, okay, and anybody who is admitted in the hospital has a chance of contracting the infection. So people would be more than happy to actually stay back in the hospital, stay back at home and get their treatment done. Okay. So now coming to the business part as such. Now, one important driving factor uh, which makes a lot of difference in healthcare is the revenue part. So revenue is one of the most prime factor which when we consider it into its entirety, we have to make sure that whether our revenues, whether our profits are going down or whether our losses are going up and so on. So let's take a look at what happened with this pandemic. With this pandemic, there was a tenfold increase in the number of people availing online consultation. There was more point of care services being delivered at home. People were more than happy to have the services being delivered at home or blood samples being collected home and so on. And even with one person getting admitted in the hospital, there were high chances and people were worried that even their relatives and their other family members uh, might get COVID-19. So these are the things that actually changed. So, what could be the future in terms of healthcare business? The way I anticipate things is that there will not be much need of bigger size hospitals. The hospitals will mainly be meant for most of acute care and hospitalization in case of surgical procedures. But whereas in case of daycare and in case of post-operative procedures, hospital setting will not be really required, where patients would rather go at home and have the post-operative services being carried out there. So this is one of the most important factor why I need to stress is that we are into hospital planning and designing, and we need to make sure that the hospitals that we design has to be futuristic. There has to be a flexibility in design, there has to be a flexibility in the business approach that we're going to have, and also the fact that our hospitals need not have a huge infrastructure, because any which ways you would not be able to fill up all the beds at once. So this is going to take time, and the design has to take that into consideration, that is there really a need for that many number of beds in the hospital. So the operative services, the radiology services, and the inpatient beds to a certain extent will be a part of the hospital, but then there need not be too much focus on certain number of beds being there. So because that will be out of question, in my opinion. So, focusing on less number of beds and mid-sized hospitals, let's say about 60 to 80 beds, I think will be the future hospitals. So, there will be specialty hospitals. There won't be too many multi-specialty hospitals coming up, because people need that personalized care and attention in order to cater to their services. And there will also be advancement in technology, wherein all the medical services will be delivered at home. So there will not be much of a inpatient setting, and smaller hospitals could end up not generating too much of revenue. Smaller nursing homes will not be able to make too much of revenue, so they might be acquired by bigger players or chain of hospitals. So that also could be happening at a later stage. Now, what is the future? So post COVID-19, I think a lot of healthcare businesses that provide services in the home will continue to have more gain more market share over the few years, and this is fueled mainly by the patient's convenience and the affordability factor. So imagine if the patient goes to a hospital, he waits for the doctor, and then he's away from work, which means that maybe he loses half a day. Whereas in case of telemedicine or any services that can be brought to the patient's workplace or home, it eliminates that time factor here, which is why patients would be more comfortable in not visiting a hospital and having healthcare personnel coming to their doorstep and delivering their services. So telemedicine will come out to be one of the sought after solutions, as a lot of people feel that the telemedicine can actually be the most important growth factor in healthcare industry. So if you put it differently, healthcare is no longer limited to specific timings, let's say 9 to 1 consulting or 5 to 7 in the evening consulting. So it has to be a 24/7 facility wherein people are more comfortable to access those services anytime they want and anywhere they want. It could be even at a workplace, it could be at residence, or it could be even at a holiday destination. So it could be anywhere. Coming to the feasibility part of it, as to whether how feasible will be your 60 to 80 bed hospital. Now remember, when we talk about 100 bed or a 200 bed hospital, it's not the beds that give revenue, it's the services that give revenue. It's the departments, the operative services that actually give the revenue, and not the beds as such. So from the feasibility perspective, we need to look at what kind of bed mix are we giving. Are we giving a bed mix of, let's say, emergency, daycare, then intensive care? It could be medical ICU, SICU. It could be NICU for the neonatal, and then mother and child care, and then the operative services, and so on. So this will be backed up by the CSST department, and OT store, and laundry, and physiotherapy, and so on. So we would not really feel the need of adding up too many number of beds ultimately. So this is something that needs to be looked into when we look at the future designs, and the design has to be more compact in nature, and the hospital promoters also need to realize that it is not just the hospital setting that they need to cater to the patient services, but also in the patient's home. So there has to be more of telemedicine services that the promoter needs to deliver. There has to be more of healthcare personnel visiting the doorstep of the patients. So there will be more of home care services that will actually be there. And the major revenue generating sources would again, just like before, would be operative services, would be diagnostic services, would be pharmacy, and so on. So there will not be much of inpatient room admissions. There will be more focus on daycare services and daycare procedures. So this is what the insurance companies will also focus on in order to reduce the expenditure at insurance companies. Ideally, what happens is that when there's more number of admission, then there's more cost being incurred for the patient care. So if post-operative services can be taken care of the patient's house, then the amount of money that the patient spends in the hospital is much higher than what he would end up spending at home. So insurance companies would be more than happy to look into this factor, so that their cost of patients come down. Having said that, we should also be looking into what kind of cost of the project that we would incur if we go with a 60 to 80 bed hospital. So if we look at the smaller towns, for the 60 to 80 bed hospital, we can roughly assume about 40,000 square feet of built up area, wherein you will have all the outpatients and diagnostics and operative and inpatient services, wherein more focus would be given to add more departments and not the beds. So more departments, I would say, cardiac, orthopedics, or ophthalmology, or ENT, or mother and child care, dermatology, gastroenterology, and so on. So these are the departments which will generate more patient flow. And also that the preventive healthcare would be a new thing which will pick up much faster, although this has been there for a long time now. But then now people will give more preference to their health, more than what they used to, before the pandemic. So I believe we need to also have proper arrangements for multiple preventive healthcare services, wherein the patient also need to be educated, and patient also need to be told every time they visit the hospital that the importance of preventive healthcare services. So the next thing about the future hospitals is that how do you maintain the revenue, how do you maintain the cash flow, how do you survive when there is less number of beds, and so on. So the another thing that you can add is the home healthcare services segment, which will give you more revenue, so that patients have that access to healthcare anytime and anywhere they want. So patient feel more closer to the doctor, and instead of they visiting a doctor at a hospital, they might as well consult you over the phone. So there's more demand for healthcare services at home, and this way there will be more conversion also, because patient is also updated about his health details, and then he'll be more than happy to get checkups done if it's happening at his home. So some of the pathology tests that can be done at home, and the doctor can very well get the reports within no time. So this way the doctor will also able to define the treatment for the treatment line of treatment, and also prescribe the medicines, and also prescribe for the diagnostics. So that being said, the kind of work that the doctor were doing in the hospital, wherein they were seeing more number of patients at a particular time slot, that may not be there completely, but then they would also have to give more of online consultation in the times to come. So I believe a lot of change is going to happen, but that won't happen immediately once the pandemic is over. That will take time, but then there has to be a change in mindset. And with this pandemic, the change in mindset has been accelerated. So these are a few of the things that I wanted to talk about. And I would also like to focus on what should be the charges in the hospital, and what kind of expenses that the hospital would have in any of the new projects that you're thinking about. So if the cost of the project rises to a significant level, then obviously the cost of services would also increase. So the best option to choose here is to go with a asset light model, wherein you can either rent a building, and you can set up a hospital by making sure that the hospital design follows all the guidelines as per the NABH protocols. This is one of the asset light model that I'm talking about. But if you go with a greenfield project, wherein you purchase the land, and then you get the construction done, which again takes a certain amount of time. So this becomes the investment in terms of the land and the building, and for you to get the return investment, the break even might be a little longer. So the option I would suggest, is to go with the asset light model, wherein you can rent out the building or go for a brownfield project. And once since it's a smaller hospital, mid-sized hospital, the break even is much faster, and then you can open up few more centers in the next few years. So that way the vision is entirely different when it comes to the asset light model. The asset heavy model will require more capital, will require more infrastructure and more personnel. And if it's a single promoter, then I would be suggesting going with the asset light model and not the asset heavy. That being said, I think there's a lot that we can actually discuss about when we meet in person, or when we have a one-on-one session in the video calling. But for now, I believe that this is just a brief that I wanted to give you all. I hope I was able to clarify a few doubts that you might have had in your minds. But if you have any more questions, I'll be happy to answer. You can visit our website, and my contact details are mentioned in it. And you can very well raise your queries on my email or WhatsApp, or give me a call. Yeah. Thank you very much. I hope this session was productive enough for you, and I will see you again soon. Thank you very much.